Happy Labor Day, everybody. I'm CJ, and you are watching Dream Diecast Cars. Now, on part 2 of my model car collection video, a few of you guys asked me to review this Acura NSX made by MotorMax, so I figured, why not? Now, before I start this review, I just want to address a few comments that I've been getting on some of my videos. And I keep getting these comments telling me to review my McLaren MP4-12C, or asking me when I was getting my McLaren MP4-12C, and I just want to tell you guys that I'm not sure if I ever said I was, but I do not have one of those. So I'm hoping to get the new one that just got released by AutoArt, but as of right now I don't have one, and that one is really expensive and not even out for pre-order yet, so it's going to be a while down the road. Now we can finally get right along into this review, and I'm not sure if I said it earlier, but this model car is made by MotorMax. And as always here on Dream Diecast Cars, today we're going to start with the front of this diecast car. And I'm going to start by addressing the emblem, which I really don't like. It's still chunky looking, and it looks really cheesy, and the paint job just looks really bad. Now, one more thing I want to say before I start getting into the rest of this diecast car, and I'm sorry about the weird order of this show, but I forgot to say this at the beginning. I keep getting hate when I review a cheap diecast car. I keep getting all this criticism saying, you're being so hard on it. It's a cheap model car, you know, what do you expect? Well, I would be doing a huge disservice to you guys if I made it sound like you were getting a perfect model car for such a cheap price. Obviously, you're not, and I'm going to point out all the little flaws that it has. But to all you guys who keep hating, go to the end of the video and see the ratings. There is one rating that doesn't include price, but there is one that does, and that's the thing you're looking for. But now onto the headlights, which they look pretty decent. They're a clear plastic, which looks nice, and the kind of chrome coloring inside, though realistic, just looks pretty fake, but nothing really too bad. The intakes, or what are supposed to be intakes down low, are pretty unrealistic, as they're just one solid piece of black plastic, which is really bad because there are no holes, which I really like to see, but there are no perforations or anything, so it looks pretty bad. Now we can move on to the side of this diecast car, where we will start with this tiny little light right here, which has what I hate on cheap diecast cars, which is this little piece of glue right there. You can see it in the middle, how it's black, not a solid red color. I hate to see that. Now we can move on to the wheels, which are made of a cheap plastic, which I don't like, but the other details are pretty good. The caliper in the back does move through the the discs move through the calipers as they should, and the Acura logo in the middle is printed on pretty nicely. Now there are two huge panel gaps you'll see right here. I can stick my fingernail on it, and up there kind of on the hood, which I really do not like to see. And there is yet another intake with no perforations or anything. Now we can move along onto the back of this diecast car, where, just like the front, we will start with the logo, which looks extremely similar to the front, so that's not really a great thing. Once again, it looks very chunky, and the paint looks bad. Then when you look at the lights, you'll see that the red parts for the brake lights don't look too bad, but the other ones do. The turn signal looks like they just painted on orange, so it's not even transparent at all, and the same can go for the reverse lights. Also, when you look at the lights beneath the spoiler, it looks like they're not even smoothed down very well. Then you'll see the license plate, which is clearly put on off-center, and the extremely bad and plasticky looking exhausts. However, there is one positive to the back of this diecast car, which is this little grille that's on the back is well defined, unlike the intakes around the sides and front of this diecast car. Sadly though, it's the least noticeable one. Now with the back done, we can take a look under the hood, which this big panel gap is useful for sticking your fingernail in. However, cosmetically it is terrible. And you'll notice that there are some details in here, like the spare wheel and just a few little mechanisms over there on the side, which are well defined. However, they're all made out of a black plastic, which does look pretty cheap and cheesy. And this being an NSX, there is this little glass area right here that you can open up. And the trunk you can also open up. But the engine is under this little thing. And speaking of the engine, and I'm sorry it's dark under here, MotorMax does do a pretty good job replicating what little you can see of the engine. Now we can move back to the trunk. Alright, that's enough of that. Now let's look at the interior. In all seriousness though, the trunk is not replicated badly. Now obviously there's no felt or anything because this is a very cheap model car. But there's nothing really bad about it, and there's just nothing really interesting to look at in the trunk. So that's why I moved along so quickly. Now to the interior. Now when you look on the driver's side, you'll see that the steering wheel is pretty plain. Not very much to see there. And the dials in the back are just a sticker, so that's not too great either. However, the seats and the air vents look pretty good. The pedals are also relatively nice. Then we can look at the center console, which is a part of this die-cast car that looks pretty good. All the buttons are very well defined and well cut out, and they have different colors, so they look realistic. Then to the doors, which are not extremely well detailed, however they are well defined, so they look pretty good. Now I bought this die-cast car for only $18 at Costco, so that's definitely something to keep in mind when I'm showing you guys the ratings. And speaking of the ratings, here they are. The rating without the price that I'm giving this model car is a D+, because without price is a factor. That's saying that, you have infinite money to spend on model cars. Why would you buy this? Because, there are a lot of things that are, wrong with the car, just not that great. A C is average, so that's what I give most cheap model cars is a C. If it's really good, it'll get a B or a B-. But this one's got to be a D+, because I've seen cheap model cars that are better than this one. However, because I got this model car for so cheap, cheaper than my average cheap model car, I have to give this model car an A with my rating including the price. So if you want a good cheap NSX, just a little addition to your model car collection, this is definitely the die-cast car to get because it's so cheap, it won't hurt your wallet, and you'll get a new 118 model car to add to your collection. So as always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you next Monday. Goodbye, everyone.